conversations about mental health, wellness, and life in general. This is the Self-Work Podcast with Dr. Vundi. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Self-Work Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Vundi, the women's psychiatrist. Today, I'll be having a special episode, especially for moms. We will be talking about breastfeeding and mental health. Breastfeeding is often romanticized, I think, and while it can be really, really incredible, I'll speak for myself. It was a really great bonding experience. It also comes with so many challenges, physical, but more importantly for this episode, mental challenges. That's what we're going to talk about. And we're also just going to talk about how we can improve our breastfeeding experiences. So first of all, breastfeeding affects you mentally because of the hormonal shifts that happen. Because trust me, breastfeeding is a hormonal, emotional roller coaster. So whether you're a first-time mom or whether you've done it before, I hope this conversation will be able to open up the ups and downs of breastfeeding, especially for people who've not done it. We need to tell them the truth. So, let's start off with the hormonal side of life. Like, what's happening when you're breastfeeding? I think when we understand it that way, then we can understand how it will affect your mental. So, your body is constantly producing oxytocin, and that's usually known as the love hormone. Oxytocin helps you bond with your baby. It helps create that warm, connected feeling when you're nursing. You know, that thing you feel when you're breastfeeding. However, breastfeeding can also suppress other hormones like estrogen and progesterone. And remember, as a woman, your body has been producing this estrogen and progesterone for so long. Now, imagine someone has entered the group chat, oxytocin, and is just breastfeeding, and it's just suppressing this. Of course, this is something new for your body, and it can leave you feeling emotionally off balance. So while oxytocin can make you feel calm and collected, the overall shift sometimes can lead to mood swings, irritability, low mood. And this actually could be the reason why most women after giving birth experience baby blues, just feeling sad, feeling you're supposed to look at your baby sometimes and feel this awe all the time. But when you're having baby blues, you're not feeling that. So breastfeeding and the hormonal shifts that happen due to breastfeeding could be a big contributor to baby blues and even postpartum depression, right? So in my own journey, I found breastfeeding to be a lot harder than expected. And take note, I did do a class before with a lactation specialist, Mama Udoni. Hi. And I knew that I wanted to breastfeed. It wasn't a thing of, will I not want to? Like, I was very much, I want to breastfeed because of the women that I had seen before me, my sister, my mom. I wanted to be part of that community of women who breastfed their kids. And of course, because of the benefits, right? And going into it, I had that, I'm going to do it. And I'm a very determined person. It takes a lot to break me down. So what was my experience? I had a CS. Maybe I should preface by saying that, a cesarean section. And when you have a CS, because it's not a natural birth, because it's an assisted birth, your milk doesn't come in as quickly as for people who will have an SVD delivery, right? That is the natural delivery. So I give birth and my milk takes time, but I still had something, I was able to have some milk. But I remember one of my biggest challenges was latching. So one thing that I want to educate maybe women who've never given birth, or maybe you're pregnant and you're planning to go on that journey, and even if you have a baby and you're planning to have another one, we never consider that the baby doesn't know how to breastfeed. They don't know anything. They've just been born. So they are learning to latch, and that part is so frustrating because the baby is so hungry, they're crying, and you have milk, or maybe you don't, but latching is the only way to bring in the milk. And there's that, latch, but I can't latch. And that process is so stressful. And I'm speaking now from experience. It was so stressful. I had challenges with latching right off the bat. I had help. I had a lot of help. But I remember that when we went home, this was like day 4, I believe, we went home. That's when I learned how to latch and how to breastfeed. And there are amazing videos out there by lactation specialists. I can't remember the one I watched, but I remember going into my nursery, my baby's nursery. I was like, I stripped down, because, that skin to skin really helps. Strip the baby down, put on the heater, and I put on that video. And that video changed the game for me. It was very, like they were demonstrating with a real baby. And I remember I just wanted silence. And because we were home, I was in my nursery, there was a heater. That's when we learned how to breastfeed. So I encourage, if you're on the process of learning how to breastfeed, or if you ever find yourself in that position again, shut out all the noise. I think that's why I advocate for go home as quickly as possible, because it's so hard sometimes to do these things in the hospital. I remember the hospital I went to, and no shade to them, they had this breastfeeding class that they were doing at, I think it was 8 a.m. in the morning. First of all, we have not slept. We were all so delusional. We're all so drowsy. A friend of mine, we gave birth at the same hospital, same time. I remember looking at her during the class and I was like, what is this lady saying? The nurse was great. She was doing the best job, but it's 8 a.m. We're tired. We're in a group. Like, this is not, and I remember looking at my baby and I was like, I just want to go back to my room. So maybe that's something that I would say is, if you can't get a lactation specialist as fast as possible, or watch some videos and be in a space that feels comfortable to you. But we've digressed. So now I'm just highlighting some of the challenges about breastfeeding, latching. Maybe you don't have enough milk. And I'll speak on that because I was a just enougher. So if you don't know what that means, a just enougher is somebody who has just enough breast milk. We are not the people who have a lot and we don't have, very little enough to be considered, like we don't have enough milk. We are just enoughers. It's very much of a mental marathon. Let me go back to, so hormonally that's happening. Number 2, there's the fatigue. You've given birth, you probably had a CS. There's a physical toll. You're not sleeping. Aside from that, there is the physical, still on the physical, there's a physical pain. Sometimes you get the cracks. I did. I ended up getting nipple thrush, which I diagnosed myself because I kept on having this pain, this excruciating pain, like blades are passing through my ducts. And I would go back to the doctor and say, I'm not okay. Like, look at me. And we did everything. Bless their hearts. The doctors tried, even the pediatricians. And I was just like, I can't describe it. It's not a crack because we had taken care of the cracks. It was inside. There was something wrong with the inside of my ducts. And I went on Reddit. I went down a rabbit hole. And I found out that if your baby has thrush, which my baby had, yes, you treat the baby, but you also have to treat yourself because you get the nipple thrush. And as soon as I got that treated, the pain went away. But what I'm telling you is a duration of months. I went through nipple pain while breastfeeding for like maybe 2 months, like the first 6 weeks, on and off. So hormonally, physically, you're going through all these things. So how then can it not affect your mental health? How then can breastfeeding not affect your mental health? I remember feeling anxious. Yeah. Anxiety is postpartum anxiety is one of the things that comes up with challenges with breastfeeding. I remember when the baby would wake up and they cry. Newborns cry. The first thing they do is they cry. And, people give you the baby. There's the pressure. The baby has cried. They give you the baby. And I remember my heart doing that thing. Anxiety. You feel anxious. Will there be milk? Will I be in pain? So that's something that we need to talk about, is the anxiety. The other mental thing that women go through on top of anxiety is there is this pressure. I won't call it peer pressure, but there's a social pressure that comes with breastfeeding. Everybody expects you to do it. Everybody expects you to tough it out. And it can be very isolating. And it can make you feel like inadequate because you're comparing with other people. I remember we would go maybe take the baby to clinic, and I'd be looking at other moms just like whipping out and breastfeeding their children. And I'd look at them and I'm like, you're doing that so seamlessly. Like there's no wins. So a lot of feelings of inadequacy, and then comes sadness. So I want to say that breastfeeding is not always the right choice for everyone, right? If it's not the right choice for you, especially on a mental level, please come see us, see a therapist, see a psychiatrist, right? Because we need to address women who are struggling with their mental health as they breastfeed. Feelings of guilt. Let's talk about that. That's a mental challenge that breastfeeding comes with, a lot of guilt. I remember the first few times I would pump and see 20 mLs. And I had bought so many milk bags. And it's like, 20, like that's it. Guilt, because the baby is there and my little one really wanted to breastfeed, and you feel guilty. And this I want to highlight is, I don't know, but I feel like it's compounded more for CS moms, because you're like, okay, fine, I didn't give birth naturally. Then here I am, I can't breastfeed. And they feel like they're failing. You feel like you're failing. And that pressure can lead to a lot of depression. And I want to talk to you who went through that, is going through that. You're not a failure. You've tried your best. Our bodies just go through so much. And your breast is an organ. It has never done this thing before. It is learning how to do it. It's like, when babies learn to crawl, they just don't wake up one day and crawl. When you're learning a new skill, even with your body, it takes time. So when you're breastfeeding and you feel like you're on call 24/7, let's talk about that a little bit. It can also weigh on your mental health. It's literally a 24/7 job, especially if you're doing exclusive breastfeeding. There's no weekend, no weekends off. And that there's always that feeling of being overwhelmed physically and mentally. So I want to say that a feeling of resentment can sometimes come up because of feeling like you're always on the job 24/7. And I remember looking at my partner and being, thank God we did the bottle from a very early age, but there'd still be moments where I would feel, you're not feeling the pain, you're not pumping in the middle of the night. And, I would feel so exhausted and I would feel resentment. And I want to take it to a next level. If you are feeling or have felt resentment towards your baby, because of breastfeeding and the things it has put you through, I want to tell you that it's okay to feel that way. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad mom. It's okay to feel angry because really there's nowhere to take those feelings, right? But let me say that those feelings of resentment, guilt, fatigue, anger, stress, anxiety, depression, all that is a cocktail that is not very healthy. So I encourage moms, when you're feeling these things, let's have a therapist walking the journey with us. And if it's very severe, come and see a psychiatrist. The other thing that I will recommend that I did that really helped me in my breastfeeding journey, because, okay, it wasn't doom and gloom. I know the first half of this episode has sounded very much like, scary. And some of you might really be fearing breastfeeding, those of you who have not done it. But let me just say, from around week 3 for me, I would still have on and off pain because I hadn't treated the thrush. But a lot of the moments, there was the bonding. There was the moment where you feel like, okay, I'm doing great. There were moments, especially in week 3 for me when my milk came, I felt so proud of myself. And I'm pumping, I'm seeing 120. I'm like, okay, who's this? There are beautiful moments. There are moments when you're breastfeeding and your baby is just staring deep into your eyes. And in those moments, you're speaking a language that only the two of you can understand. I'm about to tear up. There are so many beautiful moments. So, what helped me, and this is what I'm getting to, is I walked my breastfeeding journey with a bunch of women. A few women who we were pregnant around the same time, gave birth around the same time, worked together at some point, and we formed a WhatsApp group, and we would just exchange information. And even for those who were not in the same WhatsApp group, I had moms who we gave birth around the same time. We would just talk to each other, use this cream, it helps. It really helped to see that you're not alone. So I want to encourage you, especially if you're pregnant or breastfeeding or you've just started the journey, find a bunch of women. You don't even have to be close. Like the group that I am in, we're not, I wouldn't say we've been friends for forever. Some of them I've never met, but it's about just the community. I would be pumping at 3 a.m. and then I see somebody else in the group posting that they're pumping, and I would be so encouraged. So don't do it alone. Find another mom. Even go on Reddit. I'm telling you, I would live on Reddit and I would read the experiences of women who have gone through it. I would reach out to my mom, my sister. Hey, did you go through this? It really helped to go through it with others. So if this episode has resonated with you in one way or another, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions. I want to know your experience. What was your breastfeeding experience? Did it affect your mental? And how did you cope? But as always, I'm the women's psychiatrist. I'm here for you. And if you're currently in the thick of it because of breastfeeding, reach out to me and we will see how to get through this together. As usual, love and light. I'm wishing you all the love and all the light. Be kind to yourself. Bye.